Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Hey folks, this is episode number 134, and we have a two-part series this week for the Rock and Pod Expo. So we've got four guests this week: Earl Skakel, comedian; Anthony Corrider of Tora Tora; Paul Taylor of Winger fame; yes. And a young up-and-coming band called Under the Radar. Now, before we get to these interviews, which will be audio-only interviews for those of you who like to watch the show on YouTube, you're going to miss out on seeing Dennis's pretty face this week, and next week. So
just look at it now. Just look at it now. Just kind of.
Now, before we get into any talk at all, I have and I knew that someone was going to call me out on this. The singer for Huntress was not the wife of Jonathan Davis of Korn. The singer for Huntress, her name was, let me pull this up. I had it on the screen, and then Dennis got me distracted. Her name was Jill Janis, and she passed on August 14th, 2018. And Jonathan Davis's wife's name was Devin Davis, and she passed on August 17th, 2018. So,
oh wow,
there's your correction for that. And my second correction is Bob Dylan was in the Traveling Wilburys, so there was like four people that said, dude, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm like, it took you 133 episodes to figure that out?
Well, and like I said, we need a little disclaimer on
that
our
must
thing
mean
saying
that
we
don't.
Listening. Well, that's great. And we need to.
The best part about it was somebody came up to me at the expo and he said, I have a bone to pick with you. I said, it's about Bob Dylan, isn't it? He's like, yes. I'm like, it's been picked to death.
Well, the disclaimer should say that even though we love music and we talk about music, we don't know everything about music and we make mistakes.
Well, I had intended
a lot of stuff
I had intended to look this stuff up before we recorded our last episode, but it was one of them shit days at work where you spend your day putting out fires and then come home and sit down and start recording no time. So that's my excuse, and I'm going to stick to it.
Yeah, that damn day job gets in the way.
Yeah. So, Bill, real quick, tell us your thoughts on the Rock and Pod Expo 2 that did not have Vinnie Vincent.
I was getting ready to say, I am so glad Vinny was not there because it would have been a three-ring circus. It would have been miserable for everybody, and I am so glad he wasn't there. So, that being said, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet some new people. I like the layout of the venue a lot better this year than I did last year. I like the space in the venue. I'm not sure about the layout, though, because I liked being closer to the other podcast guys. This time it felt like we were all just kind of strung out. A little bit more, but I liked the space. It was a lot better. And I liked having the record show too, because I could go look at stuff and then put it back and go, if it's there at the end of the day, I'll buy it. So I did buy Dio Last in Line. So
good. You did buy that. Good.
Yeah. But there's I just thought it was really cool. And like I said, I got to meet some new people and some stuff that I've never heard before. So I've been looking up some new podcasts and things like that. So I thought it was pretty cool. I thought the crowd was pretty good too. Thought we had a pretty decent crowd all day, and that worked out pretty well.
Was there a high point of the?
Yeah, for me it was. And you're gonna hear the interview with Anthony Corrider here pretty soon, and that was the coolest dude. I have to say that was probably for me one of the funnest interviews we've done. He was just a ball of energy. That guy is so pumped up about the resurgence of Tora Tora and the new album they have that they're working on. It'll be out in early 2019. And I could have talked to him for probably a day, and he was just wired. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun.
And we will probably be getting him on again at some point too.
Well, yeah. And then the other high point was there's a picture of me and Alan, and one of the guys that works for Podcast Rock City. I can't think of his name, and Michael Wagner standing there talking. And it's just really amazing that we were standing there talking to a guy that has produced Dokken and Metallica and Skid Row and Great White, and you just keep naming bands, and it's just like we're just standing there talking. It's like
he also produced someone that we're going to be on next week's show.
Yeah. So it's just amazing that we get to do that stuff. I just pinch myself sometimes going, this is some pretty cool shit. It really is.
Now, did you have a low point of the expo?
Let's see. Yeah, I would say the low point for me was the jam at the end of the show. I was just burnt. I was tired. I was done. I was tired and done. So for me, that was the low point. Was kind of like, whatever. It just didn't add anything to me. And it's not because I don't play. I just whatever.
All right, Dennis, what's your thoughts on the expo?
Pretty well everything Bill said. And like I said, I like the venue a lot better. The place where we were set up was not the best, but that was our choosing. We chose that spot. I would like to have been around more of the podcasters. We were kind of we had a pole right there, but we did get to see all the panels and stuff like that. So, and we had a lot of the walkthrough traffic, which was good. It was really cool to meet. For me especially, people coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I love listening to you." And not just as, basically, oh, yeah, I really, no, but, I like this show and I liked when you said this and when you forgot to say this and stuff like that. I mean, where I know that they're actually listening to the show. And that really makes, I tell you what, if a lot of times I get caught up and I'm like, oh, man, I wish we had 1 million listeners and stuff like that. But just to have people come up to you and say it, just a couple of people saying that means so much to me, and I know it means a lot to you guys too. And that's one thing I want to just say to all the people that we met this weekend that listen to us. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us. And I mean the whole thing was a really good experience. For some reason, it just seemed to be a extremely long day. I mean, it was. I mean, I ended up. My world got kind of changed around. I did not go down on Friday. I ended up canceling my room on Friday night. I ended up driving down. I left at about 5 o'clock on Saturday morning. Time we got down there, and then it was a hot day too. Anytime you went outside, it was smoking hot, and it was semi-cool inside. But it was just a long day of just meeting people and talking to people and moving around and doing stuff. The low point for me was the jam got cut short. I didn't realize that the time the last time we went to 9, 10 o'clock at night. I mean,
the jam started later in the day last year.
Yeah. So, and I knew that it was going to end at like at 5. The actual expo was ending at 5:30. And, at 7 o'clock, the guy come up there after 4 songs and says, you're done. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, that sucks. Because I packed a half stack, my guitar, a bunch of stuff down. I had to take a different car just to even bring all my stuff down.
Well,
Alan pulled a whole trailer down.
The best part about it for me was I went earlier in the week and got my bass all cleaned up, got it restrung and everything, dragged it all the way down to Nashville to open the case and hand Dennis my tuner. Yeah. That's the only thing that I did with my bass. I played his bass instead.
But the only thing, and it was just a personal thing for me. I actually had my 35th class reunion that same evening, and if I would have known that the thing was over at 7 o'clock that night and been done, I thought it was actually over, and then we were going to do the jam, and we were going to hang out till 10 o'clock and all that stuff, doing this stuff. If I'd have known it was done at 7, I actually would not have got my room and stayed there that night. I would have just packed my stuff, went home, and actually got home in time to go to the reunion late, but been able to show up and hang out. And because my wife didn't even end up going because she had a really bad schedule that week. So I paid a pretty good money for an expensive room for myself, and I was actually in bed at 9:30. I'm an old man. I was like, I can't even take this stuff.
You had no-tell sex.
Yeah.
Well, we assume.
But it was nice. We went to the scorecard. Actually, you guys went and ate barbecue. Barbecue just didn't sound good to me, so I ended up going to the scorecard across the way and had a fish sandwich and stuff. We sit with a bunch of the other podcasters. Unbeknownst to us, it was not a good night to go downtown in Nashville on Saturday night. Saturday night was probably the busiest night that Nashville's ever seen, because on one end of the town you had Def Leppard and Journey at the Bridgestone Arena, and then down at the Nissan you had Taylor Swift. And it's also a
Garth
Saturday
Brooks
night.
was
And
also
then Garth
playing.
Brooks was also in town that night. So they even came on the matter of fact, when I went to bed that night, I was watching the local news and they had one of those like sky cam things looking down on the streets and they go, "It's really busy downtown tonight here in Nashville." Because it was, I mean, and they showed it was just lit up. I mean, all you could see was cars, people, lights, lasers coming out of the Nissan Stadium. I mean, I was like, I'm not going to go down there. There's no way I'm going downtown tonight, So yeah, I was asleep, and then actually up at 5 o'clock the next morning, couldn't sleep, and that's why I said, "You guys, I knew you were sleeping in." I said, "You know what? I won't have breakfast. I hit the Mickey D's, got gas, and I was back home by 9 o'clock." So anyway, but it was a good time, good time had by all, and thank you, Chris and Aaron. I mean, you guys put on. Chris put together a great thing. Every year it gets better. I can't wait for next year, and all the other podcasters that we hung out with all day long. Love you guys like brothers. It was a good time. So that's all I got, brothers.
Wow, that's a pretty good review there.
Yeah, I mean it is. It was a good weekend.
Well, I can't really say anything different than what you guys said. I think one of the highlights for me was, like you said, people come up and said, "Hey, in episode such and such, when you said that, I didn't know that. That was pretty cool," Or somebody coming up and say, "Hey, man, you fucked up. Bob Dylan is in the Traveling Wilburys." So it was kind of a highlight to have people come up and actually, and as a matter of fact, we parked the van, hadn't even got in to check in yet, and somebody caught me and said, "Hey, Tate, Toomey's in here. You got to come see him." I'm like, "I got to check in first." So somebody that I didn't recognize recognized me. So that was kind of cool. Yeah,
right.
The first couple of times that happens, it's a little disconcerting. Yeah,
right.
But
that's kind of cool. It's a neat experience. We've finally got to the point where people recognize us, and it's not just each other.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Alan.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis. Hey, Alan.
So I guess another highlight for me is also a low point for me is the podcaster jam. Because put a lot of effort into everybody learning those songs, and I brought my full sound system down, got everything set up on stage, and not even a minute into the first song, the manager comes out and it's like, "If you guys don't turn it down, you're done."
Right.
And then he caught me on the side of the stage and he said, "If you can just get the guy to quit hitting the snare so hard, it'll be fine," because that's what was cutting through the wall.
Right.
Because on the other side of the wall was a bar and there was an acoustic solo country artist performing. So that's well, what I told Chris, or I told either Chris or Aaron or somebody, I says the bottom line is they've already gotten their money from us. They've been paid. They don't care. They haven't gotten all their money from those people still drinking beer in the bar.
Sure.
So I understand that was a business thing, but
right.
that should have been more clearly communicated to Chris long before. "Hey, we're done setting up. Don't be loud."
Right.
This is a rock.
And you got till 7 o'clock.
This is a rock show. God damn it!
And he hit the snare so hard that he broke the snare.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
that was funny. But anyway, it was good.
But yeah, we did. You and me and Joe Polo did the Schools Out. You and me
and Lee, right? So it was,
Lee wasn't on Schools Out. It was
Jason. It was Jason also on there.
Jason was on Highway to Hell, wasn't he?
No, he was also on. He was on Highway to Hell and Schools Out. He was the other guitar on Schools Out.
I was thinking it was such a blur. I thought there was only three of us on
Well,
stage.
and we were originally actually Mike Williams from Classic Rock Drops was going to play drums, and he was all ready to go on it. And last minute, he had to take care of Angel, going traveling it, moving him around. So that's when Joe Polo jumped in. So it was it's like it always, everybody kind of jumps in. So it's never perfect, but it was. Shock Me sounded pretty good though. I didn't play on that one, but it was good.
Yeah, Ken did a good job.
They did real good.
Yeah.
And Gary Schaller, as always, nailed those.
Just
that dude is a monster guitar player. That dude is a monster guitar player.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, well, folks, here's your first half of the Rockin' Pod Expo interviews.
Enjoy.
Hey, this is Dennis Talbot from the Ages of Rock podcast. I'm sitting here with Earl Skakel at the Rock and Pod Expo in Nashville, Tennessee. How you doing, Earl?
It's my first time in Nashville, so
Awesome.
and I just flew in like a couple hours ago, so I'm a little out of sorts because I'm not usually up at this hour.
Exactly.
Which is crazy to say at noon. You're just finding your and I'm usually operating on at least one energy drink, so I'm doing as good as I can.
There you go. Well, Earl, you're not a rock star, but you are a comedian.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm a comedian, but I'm a comedian who loves 80s metal and this genre of music.
Right.
I know it's not just 80s metal here, but I think I'm a closeted. I wish I could do that. Like most, I think musicians are. I wish I could be a comic.
Right.
So it's neat to be in this world in some capacity.
There are a few, like I said, comedians that do associate a lot with music, and I say you're one of them. That I know Courtney too. We've known her for a long time, and
Jim Brewer.
And Jim Brewer. So you've got comedians that do that, associate, and there's like some of them that actually went out on tour, being openers and stuff like that. And it's an interesting concept of comedy and music mixing like that.
Well, I think comedy's harder because if you're in a bad band or you can turn around and blame the drummer.
Or the bass player.
Yeah, it's always the bass player's fault.
Yeah.
They can't keep rhythm. Or you could look at the guitar player. You can blame somebody else in the band.
Or the sound guy.
Or the offstage keyboard player.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to break any Kiss taboo topics, but
actually, he is sitting right up there on the
I
stage
know that's
right now.
crazy.
That's
Gary Corbett.
Gary Corbett.
And my favorite Kiss album is Crazy Nights,
which he was on.
He was really the sound of it.
And actually, he was on tour when they had enough money to pay him.
Yeah.
Some nights they didn't, so he didn't show up. That's kind of an odd deal.
There's a great, I think it was, they were in Sweden or Germany maybe.
Right.
And he is off stage, but the camera guy, I guess, wasn't told, don't show the keyboard player.
Right.
So for much of the concert, at least on the video, you see him, and you can see Gene getting visibly upset. I'm sure Paul wasn't that happy. No one's supposed to really know he's here. It's pretty funny. It's kind of neat to see him up there.
Which is kind of really weird. I mean, in a sense, because people hearing keyboards, and instead of thinking, well, they're piping it in or they've got a track running, if the dude's playing it, put him up on stage. Cheap Trick did that for Todd Howard played with Cheap Trick for a long time, and he was up. He put it on the corner of the stage. Same way with. With a funny thing with Triumph. Triumph had an extra guitar player. Triumph's known as a trio, power trio, but they always had an extra guitar player. He was on stage. He was up there doing his thing.
I mean, I used to date the female manager because there are two managers of Motorhead.
Right.
And one year they were playing WrestleMania because they did Triple H's music.
Right.
And I remember walking backstage and they had a Bob Kulick.
Right.
So Kiss related.
Right, exactly.
He was almost in Kiss. He's below the band playing, and because they were doing a sound check, and why is that guy? Why is he playing? Phil's up there, and Phil Campbell was such a wild card.
Right.
That they couldn't risk playing WrestleMania in either him not showing up or him showing up, and he's a great guitar player.
Right.
But so that kind of burst my
Well, it's kind of one of those Wizard of Oz. The curtain came back, and there's the guy flipping the levers.
And then she would tell me periodically, well, Earl, Psycho Circus is... It's not really a Kiss record. I'm like, yeah, it is. They're on the album, the four of them. I'm like, if they didn't play on it, who did? And she, of course, knew. She's like, well, Kevin Valentine was the drummer.
Exactly.
Tommy Thayer played some of the guitar parts. And I was like, oh.
Now I don't feel so good.
And then I started going, what other albums did that happen on? And really, very few bands.
It's like, how many days do you got to sit and listen to this?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And then I'm friends with certain people who know Steve Lukather from Toto, who might be the leading ghost musician of all time.
he's played on so much stuff, and the thing is, he's not accredited at all.
Yeah, I think it's
so much things. It's just crazy.
Like, I had no idea that on the Tubes song, and I love the Tubes, She's a Beauty.
Right.
And I love Roger Steen, their guitar player. It's Steve Lukather doing the solo. And I'm
crazy?
like, that blew my mind. Like, because clearly Roger Steen's a good guitar player, but for whatever reason, they're like, hey, Steve, you busy for an hour?
Yeah. We got something that you want to learn real fast.
Yeah, which probably, he's so good, because if you've heard Toto's
he's
Weezer cover,
I just did the other
Pipe.
day. Yeah. Well, cause it's funny because Weezer just did their Africa.
Africa
Yeah.
and Rosanna, and I saw Weezer in concert 2 weeks ago.
I love them. I have not seen those guys. I love
It was one of the funner concerts I've ever seen. It's one of the few concerts where every song, 20,000 people sang every word.
That's
and
awesome.
It was, you don't even get that at a Kiss concert. Like, Hash Pipe played, everyone knows the words. Buddy Holly, Say It Isn't So,
Right.
every song. And then for Africa,
right.
during the keyboard solo, they bring out Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, my son actually said, he came out yesterday and said, did you see the thing with Weezer with Weird Al coming out? And I'm like, oh, no, I haven't seen that yet. He's like, oh, it's on YouTube. You got to see
And
it.
he shreds. Like,
Weird Al is good. I saw him in concert.
Yeah,
like
he's
2 years
very
ago. Fucking awesome.
He's a lot like some of the 80s metal guys we love. He looks weird and crazy with the shirts and the hair, but he's actually a very good musician.
He's talented, and his whole band he's got with him. He has a talented bunch. He surrounds himself by great musicians, and they put on a great show. You know, it's corny, and they it does all the other stuff, but that's the fun of it. But the music is just fucking first class.
Well, you know, originally you see, you knew when the keyboard solo was coming, and you see Weird Al Yankovic walk out on stage, and you're like, oh boy, and. And then he shreds on the not the harmonica, the
accordion.
Accordion, but it's like really, he's like Van Halen, you know, and the crowd's loving it, even though you could tell most of the kids was like, who is this guy? But they knew he was someone Weezer admired, so they it was really fun.
All right, Earl, we've talked about music and everything but yourself. And this should be a self-promotion thing. So
I'm not good at that, which is why nobody knows who I am.
All right. So, Earl, you are a comedian.
Yes.
And you're going to proclaim that, right? You're going to say you are a comedian.
I'm a comedian / actor, a voiceover. I'm on a cartoon.
Awesome.
On Adult Swim, where I play I'm the only white guy on the show.
Really? Which one is it?
It's called The Jellies.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the dad.
Awesome.
So it's if you like that kind of stuff, it's on Sunday nights at midnight.
Yeah, it's actually they got some weird like 12:45 or 12:47 or.
Well, this is a very weird show. It's Tyler the Creator's.
Right.
He's a very, very, very incredibly popular rapper and artist. So his sense of humor is very. I love it.
Right.
This is my sense of humor. It's like, this is a cartoon I would do about the 80s. It's a lot of...
I'm 53 years old.
You don't look it?
And I find myself looking like... Or I wasn't looking. Yeah, I look like... No, but anyway, no, I find myself... I watch cartoons more than I watch regular TV just because they're creative, they're funny, and it's like there's nothing on TV that's actually worth watching anymore. I mean, it's a lot of trash.
I mean, there's very few shows.
Like there's the one called The Regular Show, which is stopped now, but the old Invader Zims and this shit like that. There was some great stuff that were made, and there was a lot of, and the voiceovers were done by a lot of, hell, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I mean,
he's made a lifetime of that shit.
Oh, it's
crazy how many people.
When I found out how much money you can make doing voiceovers, I was like, I might quit comedy.
I want that job. I don't have to.
Oh, it's the best job in the world. You literally show up in your shorts.
You don't shower.
It doesn't. No, you don't. A lot of people do it barefoot for some reason. I don't, but because I know who's been in that studio. But it's it's really fun.
Right.
So
when did you get into? I mean, was you like during high school? Was you like the funny guy and the cut up and
fourth grade play? I got the biggest laugh. It was one line.
Right.
And it's probably the most honest laugh I've ever gotten.
Awesome.
So, but then as I got a little older, all my friends were agents and managers, and I mean at the big agencies.
Sure.
And they were like, Earl, get into stand-up. You'd be the funniest guy on our roster. We'll help you. Just get your feet wet. And I started, and then they all left the business to get into real estate. So
it's like, okay, you're not as funny anymore, but we'll sell you a house, right?
Well, they're like, you're very funny, but we want to make money because the business is a very tough business, but behind the scenes and in front.
Right.
So it's in terms like for an agent or a manager, it's a minimum 12-hour day every day, and you really don't even have weekends off because, like one of my friends was one of the agents for Steven Seagal.
Right.
So Monday through Friday you'd have to deal with him, and then Saturday afternoon Steven Seagal would call, hey, I didn't get the script for Under Siege 2. Why? Blah blah blah. So it's 7 days a week. So they burn out very fast.
Oh, of course.
I mean, there's tremendous money you can make.
Right. Exactly.
This is when Steven Seagal was one of the biggest action stars in the world. So you get the money, but you don't get really a chance to enjoy it.
Exactly. So what were some of your when you were growing up? Did you get comedy albums? Were you one of those guys that get the recordings? And who did you follow back then? I know me. I was Steve Martin. I loved all the early Steve Martin stuff. Steve Martin to me is one of the most. He's one of the funniest dudes, and because it's such a weird sense of humor. I mean, people know him from his movies and stuff like that, but if you listen to his older albums, there's some weird shit on there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of demented kind of shit, but it's good.
Oh, he was like the Kiss of comics, like. From the standpoint of, I mean, the jokes were good, but he was about the show. He would play, where Kiss would play, the Forum in L.A.
Sure.
So he was like the first comic to go, you can play outside of a comedy club if you do this right.
Right.
But I didn't really grow up with traditional watching stand-up. Like Archie Bunker was my first comic influence.
Right.
Not so much for the awful things he was saying, but how he was likable saying them.
Kind of sarcastic in a sarcastic way, but yet saying things that were prevalent.
Oh my God, he was a horrible. Like the character was a horrible racist.
Yeah, he was.
But you somehow still liked him.
He was a lovable guy.
Yeah.
But he kind of reminded me, like your grumpy old guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah, your crazy uncle. Or your dad, in my case. No, I'm just kidding. And then, like, there was a television show, and it was only 3 seasons. It's from 78 to 81, called The White Shadow.
Right, I remember that. It was a basketball show.
It's a great story about a white coach in a all-black high school for the most part.
Right.
And Salami usually was the humor in each episode. He was the Italian.
Right.
Stereotypical dumb Italian. I mean, it was a horribly racist show from the standpoint of, all the blacks on the team were like conniving and, getting girls pregnant, and the Italian guy was a dope. The Jewish guy nobody liked.
Very stereotypic.
Yeah, yeah. But they covered like abortion and rape and one episode a player from another high school was gay
and see, back in those days,
you couldn't do that.
There was very few shows that did that. I mean, every once in a while they would sneak one in on like the old show Family,
right,
and stuff like that. But now they talk about anything. It don't matter what it is. Any topic's not taboo. But back in the 70s, it was tough to get shit like that on.
Well, people our age will remember this. There used to be only CBS, NBC, and ABC.
And PBS. You had the 4 channels.
Yeah,
I was one of those
some people couldn't get PBS. Like, PBS is like, I'm on a Showtime show right now, and that's not like a hidden plug, but like a lot of people don't get Showtime.
Away, please. Right.
But, so to have a show on the air on Monday nights on CBS that dealt with racism, homophobia, abortion, and other point shaving.
Right.
That stuff would be tame now. You can go on.
But at the time they were out, that was they were way before their time.
It was like All in the Family, but ensemble. Like instead of Archie Bunker, you had the basketball team.
Right.
And each episode was a different. Like the Italian guy would be featured,
Sure.
And then they'd go to Coolidge, the center,
Right.
And so it was a really groundbreaking show. That it's sad that it only went 3 seasons.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I remember when it was on. I was, like I said, I'm 53, so during the 70s, I was in, I was watching all kinds of, I was one of those TV gigs.
Oh, sure. Oh,
and of course, the 3 channels. I lived in the country, and we had the aerial, and sometimes you'd watch. I remember Saturday Night Live came on our NBC station, which was coming out of Louisville, which was 2.5 hours away from us. So you turn the aerial just enough to where you could see it. Sometimes it would fade in, it would fade out, it'd roll every once in a while.
Yeah.
So and that's what when I moved to the bigger town when I went to college, I was like that was my first time seeing cable. I'm like, that's the clearest thing I've ever seen. What the hell?
Oh, cable
it was like holy shit. Who turned to aerial for this? Because I should have seen them years ago.
But I mean, even cable was, you didn't have a lot of cable channels. Like you had the Z channel, which was the precursor to like HBO. You had HBO, and I think Showtime came a little later. So you had 3 cable channels.
Cinemex was pretty early. I remember they used to have the
Skinemax
late night in the early 80s. They had
I jacked off to a lot of those movies. But, now I have DirecTV, and you have literally, I think I looked the other day for some weird reason. I'm like, how many channels are on DirecTV? And it's like 900. Yeah. Like legitimate 900. They have 100 music channels I never even knew existed.
Oh, I'm the same way. I've got everything on cable. My wife likes like one show off of each thing, so we have to have it all. So we've, like you said, we've got 800 something channels at home on our cable deal. And you know what? I only watch about 3 channels. I end up sitting around watching YouTube. I get in the YouTube hole, and I'm done. Because everything I really want to watch is usually on YouTube or on the internet, so I just watch it on there.
Well, I mean, I go on. I started catching up with White Shadow episodes because it's been so long on Hulu.
Oh yeah, we've got Hulu too. Yeah.
And Netflix is great. I like documentaries, like real ones.
Oh, they're awesome.
Anything that's about the mob or music. I love music documentaries. And I'm a big hockey fan, so
awesome.
There's a fair amount of hockey documentaries and football ones.
Right.
But those are so sad because when you're doing a documentary on a sport, it's usually concussion-related issues, or like in the hockey ones, it's how
many people have, like I said, are
committed suicide because of fighting, or so it's not it's not a date.
Right.
It's not something I would have you wouldn't Netflix and chill to a football documentary.
It's like going, you're not getting laid.
Well, I am, but this thing called roofies. No, I'm just kidding. No, just kidding.
No. So anyway, where are you out of? Where'd you?
I'm out of LA,
Out of LA.
West Hollywood.
Okay.
Which is very music. I live on the same street as the Viper Room.
Wow.
Which is a very, for those of you younger fans, that's like where River Phoenix.
Yep. Collapse
passed.
outside. Yeah.
And then I'm just up the street from there is the Whiskey.
Right.
And the Rainbow for those of you who, if you're, and I'm not affiliated with the Rainbow in any capacity.
Right.
If you're ever in LA, if you're a music fan, it's the first place you should go to because it's the only place that still plays metal.
Right.
It's the best pizza in Los Angeles, and it's the only place where to the booth to your left could be an Axl Rose impersonator.
Right.
And then to your right, it's Axl Rose.
It's like you're going, okay, which one?
Which one? And
which
Ron
one looks like Benny Hill more? It's
right.
Like, okay, that's
Axl.
the real one. Yeah, it's Axl.
And then Ron Jeremy is asleep in the corner booth with Chuck Zito.
With this plastic bag full of shit.
Yeah.
That's a great documentary, too. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. I've lived the Ron Jeremy documentary because the great thing about where I'm from, West Hollywood, it's a wacky neighborhood. It's primarily a gay neighborhood, but you have enough. It's a great place to live because it's so central to, for like what I do, comedy.
Right.
The Comedy Store's up the street, Improv's down the street, Laugh Factory's. You have the top 3 comedy clubs in Los Angeles.
Right.
Within a 2-mile radius.
Perfect.
So I didn't mind the neighborhood. I'm like, I don't care. I don't consider myself so good looking that every gay man is going to want to turn me.
Right.
But it's a real eclectic. Like Ron Jeremy lives around there. I see him every night at the gas station.
That's great.
Because there's a gas station that has liquor store in it.
Right.
So everyone goes there to buy their drinks. And I go there for the energy drinks.
Yeah.
So you just to see Ron Jeremy at the liquor store.
That's great.
Every single night.
Yeah.
And he's picking up on chicks and he's creeping.
Pumping gas. It's like, you see
Oh,
what
he
I'm
doesn't
doing?
pump it.
I'm pumping.
I don't think his car is so old. I don't think it runs on gas. It runs on sperm. So it's just a wild neighborhood.
Crazy.
To you'll see Jenna Jameson.
Wow.
Just walking down the street, and it's someone from an 80. Don Dokken will just be walking his dog. So it's a very
surreal kind of situation. Then.
Yeah, it's like this Expo.
Right.
But with the it's like a reality show.
That is crazy.
So and you see Chuck Zito.
Right.
Because Chuck Zito is the most intimidating man I've ever met in my life, because he just shakes your hand and you're like, you don't want to let go until he lets go, because you don't want to offend him.
Exactly. He's gonna beat my ass.
So that's he really will. He could kick my ass. So it's a very creative neighborhood. You've got Hollywood writers, musicians, comics, porn stars. It's a little bit of everything.
Okay. Hey, we're getting about to the time here. We probably need to let you go. You want to promote anything right now?
I'm the worst at doing it, but sure.
Do it.
If you like cartoons, I'm on the Jellies on Adult Swim. You can see me on season 1 of the Comedy Central show Roast Battle. On the Showtime show, I'm Dying Up Here. And if you are not completely turned off by my interview, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Earl Skakel. That's just EARL SKAKEL. And if you're in LA, I'll take care of you at the Comedy Store.
Awesome. I know this won't go out beforehand, but you are playing here in Nashville tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at Zanies.
With Courtney and
Craig Gass. It was a great show, even though it hasn't happened.
I'm sure it will be.
Craig's awesome. Courtney's amazing.
Courtney's a sweetheart.
She's a dear friend.
I love her. She's a nice girl.
I mean, this is like a fantasy weekend for me to be around so many people who like the kind of music I do, which is, it's a niche group at this point.
It is.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
you got to keep the candle going. Got to keep the flame. Hold the flame.
I mean, as crazy as, and I'll plug the guy, even though in a weird way we're competitors to a degree, but like Eddie Trunk.
Yeah.
He's really the only guy who, other than us, covers the genre.
He promotes it 24/7.
I mean,
some people don't like him, but it's what it is. He's out there promoting it. So
I mean, I'm not his biggest fan from the standpoint of he seems to interject himself into the interview a lot.
Eddie talks about Eddie a lot,
which is great. Yeah, I mean, I should learn to do that more. To be honest with you,
I should too.
I mean, here you just asked me to plug my stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother people with that.
Now just look me up on it.
Yeah, just look me up. My last name's really. Don't Google me. Don't look me up on Reddit. Whatever you do. But and to do comedy with my friends is if every weekend could be like this, I'd be in heaven.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Earl, we appreciate
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All righty, we'll talk to you later.
Oh, for sure.
And we're live.
We are live.
Here we go, and play-by-play at the Rocket Pie and Expo.
This is Bill, and I am with Anthony Corder from
Tora Tora.
Tora Tora.
Yeah, man.
Damn, dude. That's a name from a long time ago, man.
It's a long time ago. That's
awesome. Now, the rumor, I'm going to tell you, before we get started, the rumor is you guys tore that place down last night.
Man, it was so exciting. The crowd was electric. I know this sounds cliche, but I'm not kidding. It was just something about the room. It was about this podcast, Expo. Everybody was fired up. We were all excited to be there. We were thrilled. We've been working on a new project that I'm super excited to talk to you about. But we just wanted to get out and see the fans and get out and freaking rock and roll, man. We're ready to do it.
I tell you, the resurgence of the bands from the 80s, late 80s and 90s is incredible.
It is, man.
We finally have real music to listen to again.
I know.
It's awesome.
I'm just freaking out. The LA Gun stuff's happening. We toured with them a long time ago on the first record, and we've been fans of theirs forever, but all their stuff sounds amazing. All the new stuff is coming out. It's just, oh, man. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it had such a profound effect on us. Early on, we were little kids when we started all this.
Yeah.
And now we've been together. We've known each other for like 30 years. I mean,
so
we're still...
Is everybody currently in the band originals? Or
all original.
Is it really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's
we
cool.
are still telling all the same terrible jokes on each other. And, I mean, it's like we started out in high school. Patrick and I, the bass player and I, went to the same high school, and Keith, the guitar player, and John, the drummer, went to another high school. And when we all got together, we just kind of had a built-in audience from those two high schools. When we would play a show, all the kids would show up, and there wasn't a lot of places for people underage to go see live music, so we created a venue in our rehearsal room.
Wow!
And would throw these crazy. It was a warehouse, and it was a place where Keith's dad, the guitar player's dad, was storing some glue barrels. He was in the glue business, and they were empty. It was 55-gallon drums, and so we pushed them all to one end of the building, and we put plywood on it, and we hung some black garbage bags off front, and we threw a PA in there, and we freaking threw down, man. We got a couple of guys from Ole Miss, football players, to run the door to make sure nobody got too crazy, and if they fought, they'd drag them outside, and man, we had some of the best times of our lives there. I'm not kidding.
That's incredible.
But we kind of just, man, it was something about the four of us when we got together, and all those kids, that's what launched us. We are indebted to them forever, all the people that we grew up with. They just believed in us and gave us a place, a platform, a way to get out to people. So we don't take it for granted. I guess it's kind of my age is kind of catching up with me a little bit, when you reflect back on that kind of stuff. But it was powerful, man. It really changed our lives. I mean, we felt like we got hit by lightning. Keith and I were cutting grass for a living.
Yeah.
My mom was a real estate agent, so we'd cut all her properties. And Keith had bought a pickup to carry our equipment, so we threw some lawnmowers in the back there. And I just remember driving around with him and going, wouldn't it be crazy if we recorded something in the studio and it like really did something, and people listened to it, and it happened. We recorded, and we worked with a studio, Ardent Studios out of Memphis. And we had won a battle of the bands, and we went in to do a recording, and this engineer in there had heard some of our songs, and he said, man, I think this is kind of like a diamond in the rough. I think I could do something with this. Y'all want to cut some demos with me and let us do a production deal with you. And this guy's name was Paul Ebersol, and we cut 4 songs, and they shopped us to the major labels. I mean, in the warehouse, we showcased in there throwing those parties.
Oh, wow.
They came and showed up.
Wow, there you go.
And it was the craziest thing. It had 2 little offices in the front, and it had a deck built on top of it. So we made a little VIP area for the record people. Nobody knew it but us. And we brought them in and put them up in the top. we had built a bar up there for them. And they hung up there with the sound guy, and they just watched organically as the kids came in. And I mean, it was all kind of stuff going on. People were smoking weed and drinking and partying, and what you're doing when we were growing up a long time ago, little kids.
Oh yeah.
Experimenting. But they would come in, they'd roll their coolers in, they'd bring their lawn chairs, and they were all setting up. And
that sounds so damn cool.
Freaked out, man. It was like, when we think about it, it was like a movie, man. We couldn't believe it. We were sitting there, and it was like, Virgin Records and EMI and Columbia and A&M, and all these people were there watching us, and we couldn't believe it. It was just...
So how old were you then?
I was probably 17 or 18.
God, that is crazy.
I mean, we were little. I actually left high school, my last year of high school, to do the rock and roll thing, and...
most people don't go to college to do the rock and roll thing.
Yeah, no. It was kind of funny. Looking back on it, I didn't really have that much time left in school, but I just felt like I was going to miss something. And I'm from Mississippi. I'm from down in the Delta. My parents are Southern Baptists. And so it was a really interesting conversation to walk in and say, hey, I'm going to run away with a heavy metal band. But my mom was very musical on her side of the family, and they were kind of porch pickers from down in the Delta, and they had never done it professionally, but they love music. I mean, still this day, we're super passionate about it. And they were supportive. They said, you got to do what you got to do to get your credentials for school. And, I tried to go back after I left. I said, you know what, I'm just going to finish. And by that point, we had been picked up on the production deal, and I was just immersed in music. I mean, I was like, I know this is what I want to do. I'm just going to go for it. And so, years later, I met my wife and went and got my degrees, my bachelor's and my master's.
Awesome. That's awesome, man.
It was crazy, but I was kind of transitioning from doing the rock and roll singer to I wanted to try to help young people that were coming into the music industry. And I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, I really want to try to we were lucky because we had mentor type guys. The guy that ran the studio that we worked at, Art, it was like a dad to me. Every decision I ever made in my life since I was about 16, I would ask him, when I was moving around the music industry or whatever it was. And I didn't know it at the time what kind of effect he was going to have on me, but as I got older, I was like, man, I want to be that guy for somebody else, that's just draws a circle on the wall and puts like a little line in it and goes, okay, that's you, and this is everybody else. It's going to be,
That's incredible. It's the music industry right now is so sterile, to a degree that there seems to be that lack of creativity to some degree. But when you can find those new bands that are out there, they're really, really good. I mean, we had a relatively new band on our show a couple weeks ago, and the record is incredible. And they put out an EP. That got remastered and stuff like that, and it's great, but it's getting it out there. That's the struggle. It's getting it out there. I hear you guys on a couple internet radio shows. So internet radio, Bo's playing you guys all the time. I listen to that all the time. BK Rocks with Ron. Ron's on there, and I hear you guys on there all the time.
Oh,
so
man, that's awesome.
It's on there, but mainstream media, that's over. I mean, it's just not there. And I'd like to see some of these classic rock that are playing old stuff play some of the guys' new stuff, because it's great stuff. It's really good stuff.
It's hard, man. It's a different world. We were here for a panel at the Rock and Pie thing, and we were talking about how different it is. To me, man, I know I'm old school, but I don't think anything is ever going to take the place of going out and doing a live experience with people. It's just there's something about being connected that way, and we love playing live. We miss everybody traveling. We've since around 2008 been doing like one-offs and stuff, but now that we're doing this new album for Rock and Pie, not Rock and Pie, but for Frontiers Records, I think we'll be out doing some more, have more activity on the road. We miss that tremendously, just interacting with the audience and playing the shows. I mean, there's nothing like that feeling in the world.
And they're doing some really, they're starting to do some of those really good bills now. So like, there's the Great White Bulls Boys, Enough's Enough bill.
Yeah.
So we had Chip on the show.
Man, that guy in Enough's Enough tears a guitar up. I'm a huge fan of his. Man. I'm not kidding. He's awesome.
And Chip's crazy. That dude.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's nuts. Yeah.
He's not
great.
right.
We actually did some shows with them a long time ago. Not in this era, but when we were doing it before. There was a DJ that was from Memphis that helped launch us, and he ended up in Davenport, Iowa. And he called us one day and said, hey, I've got this theater. It's a 2,000-seat theater. Do you want to come and do this show with Enough's Enough? And we were like, hell yeah, we want to come, man. And we went. He sold that place out. We went. It was one of the best shows. It was so fun. It's one of my favorite memories. It was really good.
Yeah, I think those bills get, and I've told people on our show before, I have a 17-year-old who has very similar musical interests that I do. So it's really cool because, I listen to like Whitesnake and all you guys like that. So we're going down the road one day and he hears an ad for Whitesnake is going to be in Indianapolis, and he looks at me and he goes, "We're going to that show, right?" I'm like,
"Oh my gosh, man.
Sure."
Yeah, like, man, we got to see that.
So and it's just so cool. So those kind of bills. So getting those kids, younger group to those shows keeps that energy going.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see 50-year-olds there, and it's even better seeing there's a lot of kids here.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking around.
There's a lot of 20-year-olds.
I know. I think it's revitalizing.
I think it's coming back.
We're ready. I think what somebody on the panel said, who's going to be the next guitar hero? I mean, just to hear the conversation. Nobody's even been thinking about this. It's like, okay, great, man. Yeah, please.
Yeah, and it's great to hear music that's not auto-tuned.
Yeah.
And Pro Tool to hell.
Right.
And, that's the thing. And when you get you guys live, you don't get any of that.
Yeah, it was pretty authentic. Four-piece, singing. I do acoustic a little bit, but the new project we're working on for Frontiers, we cut it at Sam Phillips Studio down in Memphis, and it's really raw. I mean, we went in. The guy that's producing us is Jeff Powell. And he was an assistant engineer on Wild America, our second release for A&M. And we were all little kids back then. And he's gone on. He's won Grammys, and He worked with Tom Dowd for a long time, the guy that had produced the Allman Brothers and Aretha Franklin, all the Muscle Shoals stuff. And he learned all those techniques, all the techniques from Tom for recording. And when we talked to him about doing the project, he said, man, I'm going to do this really organic. We're going to go in. He goes, I want y'all to rehearse up, and we're going to go in and roll tape, and you're going to go for it. And Keith and them just knocked it out, man. We finished the recording process. We did it in 6 days. We did it on a couple of weekends. I don't know. They did basic tracks in 2 days, guitars and bass and drums, and then I went back and sang over a weekend, and then we did some overdubs, and that's it. I mean, it's just raw. It's just us.
So when does it come out?
It's going to be first quarter of 2019.
Okay.
And we're super, super excited. The material sounds like us. It's just we're just at a different place. It was so funny. We were all nervous because we were like, well, we want to know what it's going to sound like. We didn't know. I mean, when I walk in, Keith is playing through his same rig that he did from back in the day, you know, at our rehearsals and stuff. So when I close my eyes, I smell stale beer and cigarettes. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the room. Yeah, this is it. And then I open my mouth and I go, oh my God, it's 25 years later.
No, but
that's how I know it's me.
But you can, I mean, so we usually record our show for YouTube because we put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're not today because it's just but if people could see how the energy you have and how, because it's the passion that you have for the music, it's so cool, man.
I do love it.
It is so cool.
I've been involved in the entertainment industry outside of the band, you know, since about, I guess, 2005. I worked at Sony Label Group, RCA, worked in music publishing, but nothing has ever touched me like doing it, like being the artist. And I have 3 boys. One will be 18 in October, 16 and 14. So I'm getting this part where I'm like going to start getting gray hair and my hair is going to fall out.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They're getting independent. They're driving. You know, the windows are down and the freedom. The music's cranked wide open. But we kind of all are in that space. We are all kind of wanted to be around and raise our families. And for us to get an opportunity to get back together after all this time and get in the studio, I mean, we can't thank Frontiers enough for the opportunity for us to get together. And when we get to spend our time together, we don't take it for granted. I know that's probably another thing. It's kind of an age thing as we think about, man, this is special because we don't know when we'll get to do it again.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to get us a little more active on the road. Just we'll have something new to promote. You know, when you were talking about before us being out and active and all that stuff, being on the road, how much we love it. Man, we miss the fans. We were really close to the people on the road. We had people that would follow us around, and they became like family to us, man. And we miss them. You know, it's that part of it. And we went out to Kansas City not too long ago, and this guy walked up to me, and he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "I do remember you, man." And he said, "I was a merch guy." And I said, "I know who you are."
Wow.
And he said, "My name's Gilligan." And I said, "I know who you are. I remember you." But it had been such a long time. I mean, it was like a time warp. We like just walked in, and we picked up right where we left off, and he was just a really nice dude, man. But it's people like that, relationships like that make it so special, man. That we went through a lot of things. They saw us grow up. We went out on our first tours, and we're green as a gourd, didn't know anything, and then they saw us come through where we were just like, dude, we got this. We're gonna freaking rock and roll this thing. It was just an amazing experience, man.
That is so cool.
It's been crazy.
That is so cool. Well, Anthony, I know you probably got more shows to go to. I'd love to continue talking to you.
Yeah.
This is just awesome, man.
Well, man,
it's so cool for us to be able to sit down and talk to you guys. Because for me, and I know for the other guys too, going to the shows, you always don't really know, you know. So if you ever get to meet these guys, are they really cool, or are they just? And Anthony, you're the man. I mean,
dude, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank y'all for having me here. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you for all the stuff that you do for us. And we really
I can't wait, man. That record comes out. It will be on our podcast.
Awesome.
We'll be putting it out there. We'll be putting on our Facebook page and Twitter and all that. We'll get it all out there for you. Where can people find you guys?
Find us at ToraToraMusic.com is our website, but you can find us on all your social media outlets. You can look us up for Tora Tora Band on Facebook. You can find me at Official Anthony Corder on Facebook. Look for us on Spotify. We've got some exciting stuff that's going to happen on Spotify that talk to the crowd about this. They're going to flip out. We're excited about it. And on Instagram and Twitter, you can find us at Tora Tora Band. So.
All right, great, man.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
This is Alan from the Ages of Rock podcast again here, and we have a bunch of young guys here by the name of their band's name is Under the Radar. Each of you introduce yourself and tell us which instrument you play and what you do in the band.
All right, so my name is Zeke Yarbrough, and I'm the lead singer and lead guitar player of Under the Radar.
My name is Matt Ireland. I am the bass player, and I do background vocals.
My name is Ryan Halcomb, and I'm the drummer of the band. These are good mics. These are really good mics. Oh, I was saying these are really good mics.
Oh, really good mics?
Yeah, they sound really good.
Well, we've learned our lesson going to other expos, so we're getting better at it every time we have a show.
Yeah, no, these are great.
All right, where are you guys based out of?
We're based out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee. Are
Yes,
you
sir.
Elvis fans?
I am. I'm a big Elvis fan. I don't know about them.
Elvis who? No. Okay. Tell the audience about the type of music you listen to, what influenced your music, things like that.
Well, we listen to rock, mostly. It's rock and pod, classic rock to modern rock to heavy metal, to just even some hip hop. We all listen to basic genres of music. Yeah. What about you, Matt?
I mainly listen to hard rock and classic rock. My favorite band is Rush, for sure. I really like just like the pure energy and just progressiveness of that band. There's a lot of fun to listen to.
I listen to pretty much every type of genre except for country. I listen to classic rock, modern rock, some jazz, some funk. I listen to like 90s hip hop and just a lot of different stuff. So.
All right, do you have an album or are you working on an album or anything like that? Talk about that.
Yes, sir. We do have an album. We have an EP and an album. So our most recent album is called So Alive, and you can get it, on our website utrtheband.com. And it came out around the end of 2017, so pretty new.
Okay, are you touring?
We're not touring right now. We're just playing, just gigs here and there. We do have a couple of big gigs lined up. We're going to the Josies because we're nominated for an award there. And that's just a basic Grammys kind of thing for unsigned artists. And then we're going to the Ryman in Nashville to open for Loverboy, and that's September 15th. So that's going to be awesome too.
Well, I was going to ask, have you been opening for anybody? So have you opened for anyone other than Loverboy?
Yeah, we've opened for Kansas, 38 Special, Better Than Ezra, Bret Michaels, Saliva, LA Guns. I mean, some really fun shows.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned your web address once. You want to promote your website again?
Oh, yes. So our website is utrtheband.com. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So on Facebook, it's Under the Radar Memphis. And then on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and stuff, it's UTR Memphis.
All right. Fellas, thank you for your time.
Heck yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'm sitting here with Paul Taylor. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Hey, guys.
So this is your first podcast type of event, right?
Yeah, I've done a couple podcasts, but no, I've never been to an event like this, so I really had no clue what I was coming to. So this is awesome.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, this is our second year, and we still don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, good. I do feel better.
I'm just kidding you. No, so talk to us about what's going on, man. You are from Kip Winger's band, right?
Right, yeah. Well, a lot of
Back
bands.
in the days. Yeah, a lot of bands.
I
did
did
a lot of
Winger
stuff, right?
and Alice Cooper and Steve Perry and John Waite and Tommy Shaw and a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I kind of took this last year off to deal with some house stuff, and just I had a house that was involved in the Northern California fires.
Oh, wow.
So it took me a while to get that all put back together and get it on the market. But yeah, I have been doing a little bit of writing still. I do a lot of writing for film and TV stuff, and so I have been pumping out a few songs for that. And but I'm just starting to think about possibly getting my gear back together and getting out on the road with somebody if anybody's got a big tour going. So
I tell you, the good thing is there's a lot of that stuff going on. I mean, there are so many bands coming back out that have been off for a while.
Yeah,
it's great to see those bands coming back out. Some great tours in the fall coming, and I just kept. I'm waiting for it to explode again, and we're so close.
Yeah.
You know that the rock scene is getting bigger and bigger. I think
it is, and all the cruises have been a big help. All the Monsters of Rock cruises, and I've been playing on the Kids cruises and the Kid Rock cruises as well with our fun band that we have around town here called the Big Rock Show.
Oh yeah.
But it's great, man, and it's been the fun part about it is that it's brought a lot of the guys that used to tour together in the 80s together, except now we're a lot nicer and we're older. We're all cocky young guys, and a lot of egos floating around back in the day, but these days everybody's just like one big happy family now, which is cool.
Might be a little more sober.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Well, not on the boats.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we know Phil and some of those guys we've had on the show before.
Phil
from Big Rock Show.
Oh yeah.
And Jeremy and
yeah.
So those are great. They're great guys.
Good guys.
They are very good guys.
Yeah.
So talk about your house. So that's kind of crazy. So
it was in Santa Rosa. Yeah, in October, the Northern California fire, and my house was up in the hills in Santa Rosa, and it's literally like one of 4 houses that's left out of hundreds of houses on the hill.
Wow,
all my neighbors are gone. My house survived it, but my guest house burnt down and all my property burned up, and so it's been a long haul because the entire hillsides were just completely burned down. So there was no phone, no power, no anything. So anyway, it's a year later. All the foliage is starting to come back, and it was mandatory that everybody got your own property clean, so everyone's torn down all the remaining structures, and it's starting to look nice up there again in just a year,
Wow.
So I got it finally up for sale again last week. So
great. So are you reside here in Nashville then?
Yeah, I've been here since '04, and it's been great. This town's been amazing for me, and where did I put my bag? There it is. I moved here primarily for the writing. As much as I love playing keys and guitar and touring and all that, writing has always been my major love of being in the music business. So, of course, there's endless supply of great writers here, and it's very humbling, this town. Just when you think you've written a pretty good song, you hear somebody else is around here, and it's like, oh my God, how'd you write that? Can I put my name on that?
There's 1 or 2 writers here. So have you had some big success with some songs since you've been here?
Not since I've been here, actually. It's most of the stuff I've done since I've gotten here. And I did pitch some stuff. I've written with a lot of country writers and stuff, but none of those have gotten in. No surprise, because you're up against guys like Bob DiPiero and Jeffrey Steele and all that. Yeah. And now there's a lot of younger people that have come in since I've been on the road for the last 6 years. But it's just gotten harder and harder to get stuff in, because they'll take those guys' worst song over my best song. So, and they're phenomenal writers. So there's no shortage of incredible songs they have to pick from already. And then you get some outside guy going, "Hey, I'm a rock guy from L.A. Can you?" So they're like, "That's nice."
Yeah. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. Stick to rock.
Exactly.
But anyway,
but this is becoming a pretty rock community.
Yeah. The last 3 years, it's unbelievable. Like, everybody I've toured with is living here now. Yeah. So it's great. It's fun to be able to go out and sit and have dinners with them, and
it's amazing, because I used to come here, back in the '90s. It's kind of interesting. You're talking about the country thing and living here, and when when the whole '80s rock thing came to an end and grunge started, I just took a quick left and went to country, which was weird.
Wow.
And we came down here all the time. I'm in Indiana, so it's close.
Okay, yeah.
We came down here all the time. But there are so many people that live here, like you said, that now it's not just country stuff. There's rock people all over the place.
Everywhere.
And
there's a ton of us here.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, some of the guys that we've talked to and had on the show, they're playing down on Broadway. They're playing in a club every now and then, and they just love it. It's a great experience for them. So what do you think about the music scene nowadays? Any new music or anything that you're listening to, or?
It's tough. I know that.
Yeah.
It's I say this in the nicest way, but I wouldn't want to be young and trying to jump into this business now. It's so much harder than when I did it. But if you love it and that's what you want to do, you got to do it. And there's always, even if you don't make it, there's still so much that can be just really fun to do about playing and writing and all that. I mean, to me, it's just as fulfilling to think I've written a great song, and even if no one else gets it, if I like it, it's like that's part of the fun for me. But I don't know. It's real different now, and I mean, all the styles have kind of moshed together. So. Like when we were growing up, it's like, well, if you were young, you were listening to rock, and we all were like, oh yeah, I easily could say what I liked, and I could tell you what any one of my friends, they were like, oh yeah, Journey, Foreigner, Toto, Boston, and everybody liked the same thing. Now, everybody just likes so many different, genres, and but it's cool.
So do you think, thinking about bands today, do you think there'll ever be another Led Zeppelin, another Kiss, another band? One of those bands that just is
it's
iconic.
It's
and
possible, I guess, but certainly has gotten a lot harder because there's just no longevity with anybody. I mean, there's just so many millions of bands that no one ever seems to, get the chance to really pop out and stay there. At least in the rock world. I mean, in the pop world, of course, you've got some, the Ariana Grandes and all that are seeming to hang around for a while. But it's, you're either at the very top or you're gone pretty quick, it seems like.
Yeah, I've turned to listening to a lot of internet radio because they're starting to play some of those newer rock bands. They're not playing just, old stuff, or they're not playing pop stuff. They're playing some of those, I've heard, some new tracks from a band called Red Rain. It's a new band. They've been out a couple of years, but it's rock music, and you get to hear that. You can't hear that even on classic rock radio.
Right.
They're not playing. Mark Slaughter had a new album out a couple of years ago. You don't hear that on a classic rock station. You have to go to an internet radio station to hear that.
Right.
So we really got to get around to where we could figure out how do we get you guys back in that mainstream where it's coming around and it's on a semi-rotation and stuff like that. We need that music back. I think it's coming back. It's coming a little bit at a time. These shows, I mean, the festival shows are huge. They do big numbers.
Big numbers. The last couple of years I was at M3, and I was shocked how many people are showing up to those.
Yeah, that's a show. I want to go to that show sometime.
It's great.
It's a show I really, really want to go to. But, the Rock on the Range shows, those shows seem to draw some really big numbers. Yeah. So it's there, and people are playing new music at those shows. They're not just playing hit stuff. They're playing some new music, too, and turning people on. So we got to figure out a way to get them turned on more.
Right.
Get new people on.
Yeah.
So, you said you have younger kids, too, right? So do you have...
Oh, no, I don't have...
No, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have kids.
All right. Never mind.
That's why I still look young.
There you go. See, I don't. so I do have kids. But, I have a 17-year-old and turning him on to new stuff. And he's into a variety of different things, which is kind of cool too. So
I just had a guy come by and hand me a CD, and I go, "Oh, is this your stuff?" And he goes, "No, it's my son. He's here. He's 14, and so I've got his CD. I'm going to listen to." And it's awesome.
You go.
It's great.
So now they're shopping them to you as opposed to you shopping them to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. But those are, some of my fondest memories of the business are playing with my two best buddies when I was a kid, Donovan Stark and Jay Cosbrook, and Jay's family. They had a big dairy barn, and we used to rehearse, and even when it was freezing, we had this big coal lantern thing we'd light up to heat the place up, and we would have these blue lights, and we would just jam, and that was fun. We didn't worry about hits and chart numbers and money, and
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking some time and being on the show.
No problem, man.
Can people find you on the internet and that kind of stuff?
I'm on Facebook, but I'm at 5,000, so
they stopped you.
Yeah, every once in a while one drops. I should actually get just an artist type page or something so I can, But I'm not a very good self promoter.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. It's been great having you on the show. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Bye, guys.
Paul Taylor, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.